Hello, everyone. This is OncoDaily TV and me, Aren Karapetyan. And I will do an interview with Sandra Turner, and I will let herself to introduce her, talk about her career path and about her recent activities.
Hi, I'm Sandra Turner. I'm a professor at the University of Sydney, but also a radiation oncologist in Sydney, where I've worked for nearly 30 years as a specialist, particularly in the area of genitourinary cancers and sarcoma. I've also had quite a role in educational activities through my organisation, which is the Royal College of Radiologists and Radiation Oncologists of Australia and New Zealand. And through that, I became particularly interested in educating the community and patients and students, as well as our radiation oncology trainees. So also, as well as my clinical role, I was involved with the Targeting Cancer campaign, which was a campaign to raise awareness of radiotherapy as an effective and safe and sophisticated treatment option, starting with Australia and New Zealand. And I was the clinical lead on that, along with some of our college representatives. And we built the campaign, which has now been running for over 10 years, which seemed very successful in terms of educating some of the patients and consumers and community in our own part of the world. Core to this is an information-rich website, which has got lots of materials aimed at patients and their families, but also a portal where people with professional training, either students or general practitioners, primary carers, can go and look and learn more about radiotherapy. And as part of that campaign, as well as a lot of media and social media, we undertook educational activities within the university, within our centres, to particularly focus on educating future doctors about the role of radiotherapy, and also current doctors, particularly primary carers, who we knew had a very important role in patient care and in referring patients for radiotherapy, but who quite openly declare themselves as not understanding much about radiotherapy, obviously a common problem in the world. So through those activities, for some years I'd been thinking that, as I'm sure many people had, that we should have a special day dedicated to radiotherapy. Many of our problems are common around the world in terms of access and misunderstanding and fear of radiotherapy. So that's what basically started World Radiotherapy Awareness Day. A few of us got together and said, well, let's build a day where we can all work to share our common messages at a common time around the world.
I want to ask and talk about your team of your organization, One Voice for Radiotherapy.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it sounds great, and in my opinion, it sounds great. And your website, I checked it. There is written about the global access to the radiotherapy treatment. And can you talk about the disparities in the world to the access of radiotherapy, radiation treatment, and what steps was done and you want to do in the future and the organization for solving this problem? I mean that solving this problem is not very easy and is not only your issue and problem, but what steps you want to do and what's your plan on this?
Sure. So as an organization, it's really been quite informal to start with. It was a small committee of people, representatives from around the world, underrepresented in areas of the world where there may be particular problems with access to radiotherapy, for instance, in parts of Asia, in South America, and in African countries. Through our committee, which is just a group of volunteers, and then we've raised some money from industry, and as you said, you've seen the website, and we're building resources and materials to help people with their messaging, and I'll come back to that in a little while. But what we're planning to do, and we're already doing, is finding interesting people in all parts of the world that can join our team and be our champions for WRAD, the World Radiotherapy Awareness Day, in their parts of the world. And so in that way, we hope to reach more parts of the world than at the moment are represented on our committee. So the disparities you mention are obviously really major in radiotherapy. Millions of people live in countries where there are no radiotherapy services, and millions more live in countries where there is very limited access to radiotherapy services. And this has been a very long-term problem. Some attempts have been made to rectify this, but as the numbers of cancer patients explodes, we're really just standing still in our ability to move the dial in improving access overall for patients that need radiotherapy. As you would know, and much of our audience would know, at least half of people with cancer need radiotherapy. And one of the 3 children need radiotherapy for treating their cancer. Many of these are curative treatments, and therefore millions of lives are lost through not having access to radiotherapy services. Also, as radiotherapy has such an important role in palliative care and palliating, for instance, particularly bone pain and bleeding, many patients suffer because of not having access to radiotherapy. So even in our part of the world, there is less than optimal utilisation of radiotherapy. And there are a number of reasons for that. There might be poor geographic access to radiotherapy services. It might be the poor understanding of radiotherapy. It might be that inappropriate referrals or lack of referrals to radiotherapy services, or it might be people not being given the option to understand about radiotherapy and therefore have it as a treatment for their cancer. And that's I'm speaking from a well-off, wealthy country, but in lower middle income countries, all of those problems are magnified many, many fold. And as I said, there are tens of countries on the African continent that have absolutely zero radiotherapy machines. There are disparities even across Europe, as you will be well aware, from Eastern Europe and previous Soviet countries as compared to Western and Northern Europe. In Asia, there's also very large range of disparity from some wealthy high-income countries to lower middle-income countries. And therefore, what it means is that vast numbers of patients miss out on the optimal care for their cancer. So look, what's World Radiotherapy Awareness Day going to do about this? It's not going to directly alter the utilisation rate, and we know it's a very long-term process. But we also know that there's lots of really good work happening in many places around the world. There's a lot of work that's actually gone into quantifying the levels of the gap and the workforce and financial resources required to fix the gap. Having said that, there's also a lot of work showing that the economic benefit of investing in radiotherapy resources, because it's such a fantastically cost-effective treatment, and compared to surgery or particularly some of the drug therapies, really, really very inexpensive for governments to invest in terms of the return for the care and the health of the country's populations. So look, a lot of work is done in understanding the disparity. A lot of work is happening through many parts of the world in trying to address the disparities, particularly through education. And that goes at every level, educating cancer patients about radiotherapy, dispelling some of the myths and fears, educating family members and communities even before, they might be needing radiotherapy, and educating other health professionals that have a poor understanding of radiotherapy, trying to educate and train the appropriate numbers of staff in terms of doctors and radiation therapists and physicists that we would need to meet the the global need, and also lobbying of governments and decision makers to try to help them understand the huge benefit for them in investing in radiotherapy services. So all of this advocacy and activities are happening in many places around the world. But what we hope through World Radiotherapy Awareness Day and through using one voice for radiotherapy is that we can all come together. We can learn from each other. We can share our resources. We can share our experiences. We can come together particularly around September the 7th, but not only on that day, so that we can amplify all of the work and all of the voices that are happening at the moment to be better heard, and perhaps to inspire some smaller organisations or groups of radiation oncology professionals or patient groups that haven't really had the means or the resources to be able to get involved with this work before.
Thank you. And about the disparities and access to radiotherapy, as you mentioned, my country is also a post-Soviet country, and until a few years ago, for 3 million people, almost 3 million people, we have only one cobalt machine and one LINAC, but only for there is only 3D conformal therapy. No BMAT and no IMRT was available, and two brachytherapy machines. But now, happily, there is a few machines, and we can also treat patients with new techniques and do a stereotactic radiotherapy. And about the second part, it's a problem, and because many patients, and not even patients, other healthcare professionals, not oncologists, there is a lack of knowledge about the radiotherapy. A lot of misconceptions about the radiotherapy, and if in my country, for example, if we compare like 10 years or 15 years ago and now, there is a lot of information about the radiotherapy, also among healthcare professionals. Because in past, there is many cases when, for example, after surgery, patient require a radiotherapy, but patient not sent to the consultation by surgeon, for example, and many cases like this. But now situation is better, and I hope it will get better and better for time to time.
Yeah. Yeah, and look, that's one of the reasons that we chose the 7th of September to be World Radiotherapy Awareness Day, just for your audience, because not only do we want people to have access to radiotherapy, we need people to have access to modern specialised techniques, the best possible care and delivery of radiotherapy that we have to offer. And September the 7th was the first day that a patient was ever treated on a dedicated medical linear accelerator.
And the next question I want to ask about your collaboration with other big organizations and companies and patient advocacy companies and professional organizations. What you can tell us about it?
Yeah, so the first year we focused on particularly radiation oncology related organisations, mainly professional organisations, but also industry, to get some sponsorship so that we could set up the website, get our resources together, and make it a fairly professional campaign. Although most of us are still working as volunteers on the campaign, and so over the last year we've approached many organisations, and we now have greater than 60 support and sponsor groups. You can see those on our website, and they're everything from very large organisations such as ASTRO and ESTRO and AORTIC, EORTC, UICC, many other major cancer organisations, and also some smaller societies, which is really great. We want it to be multi-professional, so that we've got radiation oncology, radiation therapy, medical physics organisations, and we've just started to bring on some patient and survivor groups. We know that those people are very powerful advocates. We've been lucky enough to partner with a few individuals that have been very, very vocal in supporting us. And over the next year, what we hope to do is to bring on more patient and what we would call in Australia consumer voices and survivor voices, because they can often cut through in a way, particularly to the community and also decision makers and governments and politicians. They can be way more effective telling their stories than we can often as clinical professionals. So that will definitely be a focus of the campaign next year. This year, we just needed all our radiation oncology and therapy friends around the world to know that this was happening so that they could jump on board and be involved through their channels. And that's definitely already happening.
I guess for every professional community, the communication is the key, but professional community like radiation oncologists and medical physicists and RTTs, very small community in the world. When I was in my first year of my residency, I saw that it's only in Armenia that it's a very small community and everyone knows everyone. But now when I start to communicate and talk with radiation oncologists around the world, and I understood that in every country, it's radiation oncology is a small community, and everyone communicate with everyone. And this worldwide communication is very good, and it's only bring benefits to all of us.
And we know that in the scientific world, don't we? In the clinical world, and that's also true in the world of advocacy and getting our voice heard. And I think this will give us power to all be joining together with one voice. Yeah.
And about the survivor groups, a few times ago, I found that in my there is Armenian community of cancer survivors in Facebook. I was very happy about it, but because I know that it's in Western countries or in, let's say, in high-income countries, developed countries, it's not a problem. There is a lot of survivor programs, survivor groups, survivor communities, and people openly talk about their disease, their diagnosis, and their path in the cancer. But unfortunately, in our society, there is some taboos about cancer due to some mentality specifics, and people that don't want and like to talk about they had the cancer. But I'm very happy that now people start to talk about it. It's finally people starting to understand that it's not a bad thing. Yeah, you have a cancer. It's a disease that require long and long treatment with many complications, but it's not your fault and it's not your problem that you get a cancer. It's not something like shameful that you have a cancer. And finally, in my country also, people start to talk about it. Next question I want to ask about your organization future goals and how you see your organization in upcoming 5 or 10 years and what you want to do in the future.
So first of all, we want to make this an annual event on or around September the 7th. And I was just looking actually in one of the search engines the other day and just typed in World Radiotherapy Awareness Day, and actually popped up with AI saying World Radiotherapy Awareness Day is on September the 7th and it's an annual event. So AI has already decided that, so that's fantastic. So the main thing is that this becomes a successful event. It gets put into the calendar as a regular event. It's a bit like the UICC World Cancer Day, where it becomes something that nobody questions. And in fact, this is like a sister event of World Cancer Day. We want people to take it as their own. We're not going to tell people how to use the day. On our website, worldradiotherapy.org, you will see that there are plenty of resources in the toolkit. There are downloadable logos and posters, and more next year. One of our goals is to actually do some translations we've got a few translations, but we want to do translations of more content, at least in common languages. And for instance, one of our one of the residents in Uruguay approached us. He was involved with the Global Coalition of Radiotherapy. He'd worked on their residents group. He approached me, was very, very keen, and we translated the logos for him into Spanish. And he's already putting a huge amount of materials together to educate the population and community in Uruguay, who shares some of the problems that you talked about, where there's a lot of fear not only of radiotherapy, but shame about having cancer and misunderstanding of cancer, which is obviously common in many cultures. So we want to provide resources and support to make other people be able to enact their own strategies about how to use this day, rather than dictate to everybody what they need to do. Because as you explained in your own country, some of our issues around the world are common in radiotherapy. Some of our issues are individual to our own population. So we want local people to tailor the campaign and use it as a vehicle to amplify whatever they're doing in their countries, and also to let others around the world know what's happening in their countries. So after we have had the first Radiotherapy Awareness Day, we're going to have a strategy meeting. We're going to work out particularly what worked and what didn't work. We're going to send out some surveys. We're collecting ideas from all the participants and organisations about what was helpful, what they would like going forward. As I mentioned, one of the things we know we want to do is to get more survivor and patient advocacy groups on board. We know we want to do some more translations. We've got other ideas for resources that we want to put onto our website. We want to have some measure of the impact of the campaign. Now, it's really hard to measure, as you would know, how it changes in terms of training people or actually putting in new machines, but we can collect feedback and impact from our supporters as to how they've been able to use it to raise their voices and make radiotherapy better known amongst their communities. So I can't say exactly what will be in 5 or 10 years' time, but we will be. World Radiotherapy Awareness Day will become a regular part of the calendar, and we don't expect that it will all just ramp up for a week or two around that day. What we want to do is to continually use this as a common way of coming together. As I said, talk about it between the days, present it at our meetings, collect ideas for the next World Radiotherapy Awareness Day. This campaign movement is for all of us. It's for our patients. It's not something that we're going to, micromanage or tell people what they have to do. So maybe the question would be to you and others of our supporters, where do you think this campaign should be, or what should it look like in 5 or 10 years? And what can we do to help you move things forward in those 5 to 10 years? Because I think we're only going to do that if we work together. One day a year is not going to make that difference, but what's attached around the idea and the uniting of all our groups around that day, I think can make a difference.
Thank you. And I wish you and your organization good luck in reaching all your goals and what do you want to do. And I think you do a great job, because the radiotherapy is, let me use the word underrated.
Massively underrated.
Yeah.
Unknown and underrated.
Underrated part of the medicine and part of oncology also. So, and I think that as much as we can talk about our profession and what we do and what we can do, it's only good, and we will have, and we and all our community will have a benefit from this. And as a wrap up, can you say some take-home messages or final words?
Well, thank you for your interest and OncoDaily's interest in doing this interview. Really appreciate that. We'd love to check in, later on and say what has happened and what our plans are intermittently going forward. Right now, what I'd like the listeners to do is to go to the website, worldradiotherapy.org, have a look, go to particularly the resource toolkit page, have a look at all the resources in there and the ideas for events. We've also got a PowerPoint slide set that you can use at your meetings. We've got backgrounds for Teams and Zoom meetings. We've got email banners. We've got all sorts of things that you can download and use. We'd love you to run some kind of event that might be as small as a morning tea, or it might be a conference, and make sure that RAD is talked about, share and spread through your networks. Please follow our social media channels and share a lot of the posts and activity that's coming up from all around the world. And let us know what you're doing in your events. We're going to have a world map on our website soon where people can load up what's happening in all parts of the world and inspire others about what they might like to do. So I would just say finally, get involved. It's all of our campaign and we need your help to make it successful.
Thank you very much for your
That's
time
okay.
and for this interview. Thank you.
Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to OncoDaily on YouTube. Hit the bell icon to stay updated.